Our world is filled with areas of light and darkness. There are days when all seems to be as it should. The sun is bright and the wind is at your back. But there are times when darkness strikes and the matter can be one of life and death. It is in these times that a team of individuals who are both dedicated and trained is called upon to step in and help restore the order of the day. Those individuals who can bring healing, protection, safety, and freedom back to entire nations, cities, towns, and individual lives. No one escapes dark times. Sooner or later, we all need to rely on the training and expertise of those who have committed themselves to the mission of bringing order and peace in moments of chaos, confusion, and despair. The importance of a well-trained team is often underappreciated, but when darkness strikes at the heart, and it appears that the gates of hell have opened up and unleashed upon us, it is then that we must not only recognize the importance of a well-trained team, but we must realize the part that we play. The simple definition of a team is a group of people that come together with a common goal, a common purpose. And we can all appreciate this. We all like the idea of a team that works well together. For example, the business world, a company or business that wants to work together to accomplish the goals of the company, prosperity, growth, a good work environment, a healthy, safe work environment. And boy, do we understand this in the world of sports. We all appreciate very much a team that works together like a well-oiled machine. Game after game, growing in their talents and their skills, learning to feed off of each other, learning to work well together to achieve a winning season, victory, championships. We all appreciate these things, but it's even more important in the areas of life and death. When we have to deal with the consequences of losing a life or serious sickness, when it comes to law enforcement because of a crime, when it comes to military because of a national threat, when it comes to fire, rescue, or medical because of a tragedy or accident. In all of these situations, we understand the importance of a well-trained team. And we understand this in the physical world, the importance of these matters. God has given us a physical world to live in. We need to have these teams that we can call upon who are well-trained in order to help us in these moments of darkness, these moments of chaos. But the spiritual world has an eternal consequence that outshines even the physical world. And in that world, the need to be well-trained is paramount. Just consider the importance of well-trained priests, preaching from the pulpit, administering the sacraments, helping to guide the parish family through life. But ultimately, this boils down to the importance of a well-trained family. You, me, each and every one of us having a well-trained family to the best of our ability. The family is the first link in the chain that makes up our world. Consider your family is the team. And ultimately having that well-trained team, your family, rests upon the shoulders of the husband and the wife, the mother and the father. And in many ways, it rests largely on the shoulders of the Father, on us men. This is not something that's easy in the world we live in today. The family is fractured, it's broken, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain, and there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to leading a family, when it comes to raising a well-trained team. But what we're striving for is to get everybody on the same page to accomplish the same goal, which boils down to getting to heaven. But along the way, having a peaceful, ordered life as much as possible. And where there are problems, where there are missteps, where there are difficulties, to work through them, to fight through them, and to not quit. And where all that comes from begins in here. Each and every one of us in the head and the heart, making the choice and reaching down inside. When the bombs are blowing up all around us and the bullets are zinging by, we have to not give up. We have to keep moving forward. We have to be unafraid of what's coming at us because we know ultimately what the goal is. And the goal is to get our family to heaven, to point our children to heaven, to help our wives get to heaven. And everybody has to choose this on their own. We all have to embrace this and own it in order for it to really take root in the heart. But for those of us who are husbands and fathers, we men must understand that it begins with a mindset change. That mindset has to change into more of a warrior mindset. That I'm in this battle to the end. And no matter what comes at me, no matter how dark it looks, No matter how serious the fires burning around me may appear, I draw my strength from God. Just as Psalm 144 verse 1 says, "The Lord is my rock, my strength. He trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle." This mindset, though, of a warrior in this way needs to be understood far before man ever even gets married. This is something we should be raising our young men with today, and our young daughters as well, to understand that having that family, that well-trained team, is essential for salvation. It's essential for the well-being of society, for the world as a whole. How do we do this? How do we make this happen? What does a man need to do to raise his children up in a way that points them to heaven, to understand the importance of a well-trained team? And what kind of conviction do we men have to get this job done?
So I left the faith right before confirmation. I didn't totally leave. I was still involved in Protestant, non-denominational, kind of charismatic churches, but it wasn't Catholic. So I was out of a state of grace for sure. And
So what brought you back?
well, I think probably my grandma saying the rosary. Yeah, and she wasn't afraid to tell me about it. I mean, simply put, it's the Eucharist. Right. So no matter where I was and how much of the Spirit I had, there was always something missing. There was an aching, I would put it away as much as I could, but eventually I just realized I wanted to bring back my family together.
So Jeff, in your 12 years of marriage and 5 children that you have, 5th one being on the way right now in the womb, what have you realized, and of course being a major in the Air Force and all the time you spent in the military, what do you realize is necessary, essential when it comes to raising up that team, that I like to call it like special ops team that's got to take on a mission, accomplish the mission, get the task done? They've got to be focused, disciplined, trained. How do you get to that point and help your family, your children especially, know that this is a spiritual battle and they have to be prepared for this?
Well, as you said, discipline is key. So, whether it's in the military or in a family, having sameness, having discipline, having a regimen is the most important thing that you can do. And as a man, it starts with you. Your wife, your kids, they see you, they see what you're doing more than they hear what you say, right? We all know that's true.
Yeah,
right?
we've heard that a lot.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
It doesn't work. They see the way that you approach the Lord. They see the way that you approach even His house. And they know whether or not you believe it. Do you genuflect? Do you mean it? Do you make sure everybody... So...
And that's something I suppose is the same in the military as someone who's you're a commander, you're
Absolutely.
an officer.
Yeah.
The men under you, men and women under you, are going to see whether or not you really have invested your life into this.
If you don't have integrity, nobody behind you is going to have integrity.
Right.
So it comes down to, first of all, getting your prayer life ready, getting yourself ready for the fight. You need to frequent the sacraments. Confession is key. Make sure that you're in a state of grace.
With regards to the men that are under your command that you've had to deal with on different deployments, Middle East and other places,
Sure.
What do you say to them? How do you train them? How do you try to affect them to realize that sense of discipline, sense of order, that regiment has to be there, regardless of feeling? How do you train those men? Because that relates to raising families in some ways.
Yeah, so it's all about the basics, like we were talking about before. In the Air Force, we have 3 core principles: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And really it comes down to integrity first, right? So if you don't have integrity as an individual, everything's lost.
How would you define integrity with regards to being a Catholic man?
So as far as being a Catholic man, integrity is being in a state of grace and believing what the church teaches, right? And obeying.
Okay, so the first of the 3 core principles, integrity, and what's the second again?
Service before self.
And service before self when it comes to being a Catholic man, define that.
Service before self as a Catholic means that my desires and my wants are second place. When I got married, my wife's desires took precedent over mine, right? Even when we became Catholic, God's desires and His will takes first place, right? And it always does. And then my kids, what they need and their desires, right? I have a responsibility to them, so I need to take my desires and my thoughts and put those on the back burner, right? So I need service to my God and to my wife and to my kids first.
What I find powerful about that statement is the military has always acknowledged and recognized that when you award a medal to a soldier for some service, it's always about the effort before themselves. It's always about the
Correct.
bigger picture than
Not
themselves.
thinking about themselves in any
Right.
way. Yeah.
And Medal of Honor, for example, I mean, 4,000 plus of the millions of soldiers that have ever served in the U.S. Armed Forces. That, of course, that's the highest medal awarded.
It is.
And it's always because of some amazing heroic act.
Everything that you do, you're doing for the country, for your fellow airmen, for your fellow sailors, soldiers. So the third principle is excellence in all we do.
Okay.
So we don't do anything halfway, right? If you're going to do something, do it right and take it to the next level. Be sincere about it. Be deliberate in your actions.
What is essential for us Catholic men to be doing, to living these core values, for example, in order for us to raise up our families, to raise this team, the Special Forces team, if you will, in light of the spiritual fight that we're in, to get them to heaven and help affect our world and generations to come? What do you say to those men about what they need to do?
The first thing you need to do is to get your own house in order. You can't pass on what you don't have and what you don't know, right? So you need to be in a state of grace. You need to learn the faith. And then you need to be deliberate. You need to pray and you need to ask for help, right? You need
Right.
Mary's help.
Right.
You're going to need it. You get the help you need spiritually, and then you pass it on to your family. You make sure you pray as a family. Make sure they see you pray. Make sure they understand the faith, right? So when they're young, you teach them those things that you can. Get the catechism, get the old catechism if you can. It's easy. Why did God make you, right? Why are you here? Those easy questions that kids can memorize, and then later on, those things will click with them when they really understand them.
I've been married over 27 years. When my wife and I were first blessed with children many years ago, I did not have these three core values of integrity, service to others before self, or excellence in everything. I didn't have that. I wasn't raised with that. Most of us aren't. A lot of people today don't have that passed on to them. It's not in their childhood, their development. It's tough. It's very difficult to try to adapt these things in your life, but it can be done. I've learned a lot as I raise my children, and I'm still learning. We all have to continue to try to grow and learn. But I did pick up things along the way, things that I think helped. I hope and pray they did. A couple things that I did in particular. One was when my children were young, my wife may have been out somewhere, and I would say to them, let's clean up the house. Let's put things in order before your mom gets home. Make sure the dishes are cleaned up, vacuum the carpet, dust, just organize things. That way when mom walks in the house, she can come into a home that has some order to it. But I didn't just tell my kids to do it. I did it with them. I didn't want to just say, hey, get this done. I wanted to lead with the example. I wanted to show them that I was investing myself in this effort. I would bless my children with holy water, and still do to this day. I'd bless them before they'd go to bed every night, bless my wife. And now I've seen a couple of my children actually carry this into their families as well. That was something that I picked up and learned from a priest years ago. I would do things like show them how to operate power tools. I would take the time to make sure that I was working with them in how to engage in things such as changing the tire of a car or learning how to put jumper cables on a battery. These are things that have a very natural application that we all have to engage in our day-to-day life, but they also carry into the spiritual level as well, because while I can show them these things, I can also show them what it's like to pray the rosary. I showed my children, and I still try to show them what it means, what it looks like for their father to go to the confessional, to get in that confession line. to get on his knees and pray, to go to Holy Communion and try to be reverent as you approach our Lord, to spend time in adoration before the Blessed Sacrament, to try on a day-to-day basis to grow, to improve, and to develop those three core values, to grow in integrity, to focus on service of others before yourself, and make that a daily effort, and also to strive for excellence in all things, physical on a natural level and spiritual, because we are made up physical and spiritual, and we can't discount one or the other. We can't just place one above the other. As long as we're in this world breathing, we need to be focusing on both. And hopefully, by the grace of God, with a lot of hard work, day after day, and I mean every day, striving, trying to grind it out for the right reasons, to do it for the glory of God and to benefit others, if we live this way, God will bless us with a well-trained family, a well-trained team.
I want to tell you right now, this is a powerful thing. It's something that brings tremendous intimacy within the family. Pray together. This idea of before you go to bed, whether you're laying in bed, to say an Our Father and to really pray. You would not believe how many guys I've talked to that haven't done that very simple thing. And Doug, the second thing, which I took from you in our 2008 conference and have done this ever since, and I've communicated out to as many guys as I know, bless your children and bless your wife. So it goes back to embracing this cross, that you are the priest of the home. Take that role and pass that power, pass that protection. I have my 17-year-old son asking me to this day, Dad, will you bless me? And I literally, before he walks on the football field or before he leaves for the next day, I put a blessing on him as his father. So those are two practical things I think are very, very powerful. So what do we need to do to help raise our kids to understand the battle that we're in? First of all, we've got to link this. I always say start spiritual, work temporal, but you've got to link those things together. And one of these practical things that we've done as a family has been very effective. We call it our coming together, our prayer, not a prayer time, but our God talks. Every Sunday we get together and we talk. We'll either pull scripture, we'll pull something out of the catechism, we'll pull things from that, and we'll talk about something spiritual, but we'll link it all the way back to their practical lives. So in this engagement, this dialogue that you have, you're teaching them and to help them understand the higher things, but how it applies to today. Because a lot of times, I think our kids, what they'll do is they'll hear it and they'll say it, but they don't know how to apply it to a situation. For my son, if guys are drinking, what are you going to do? If something happens, how are you going to handle this situation? So walking through those different things that they are experiencing in their lives allows them to internalize what we believe and why we believe what we believe. You know, when you talk about, from a boy perspective, boys need time. So what I would say to the men out there is find time. But here's what I would say for the girls. The girls need love. They need a lot of affection. So, and of course they need time as well. But the boys need to watch you do the work. The girls need to feel you. For all the fathers out there, from that standpoint, find time to do something really special with them. Going out for breakfast on a Saturday, going for a walk, just to talk to them, giving them a surprise hug, bringing in a flower, something just very special. That is so meaningful. And I think as fathers, sometimes we can lose that connection, or we can be so busy that we don't find the time for our sons and really engage with our daughters and show them how much we love them.
I always tell parents, particularly men, your children are watching. I mean, they're sponges. Why? Because they trust dad. And so if dad's doing it, then it's good for me. So let's take going to Mass on Sunday. If you're putting on a tie, and if you're kneeling, and if you're in solemn worship before the Lord, know that your child is watching that and absorbing it like a sponge. These children are learning whole languages as toddlers. They're sponges. Why? And they're learning fast. Why? Because they trust. They trust those who they respect and admire, their parents. Okay? So know that they're watching. So every way that you express your love for God or your devotion to God, know that out of the corner of your eye, your little one is watching you.
A lot of times people ask me questions like, Doug, what do I do if my team or my family is fractured? It's not an ideal situation. Maybe there are problems in the marriage. Maybe when it comes to your children have moved on. Maybe they've moved out to college. Maybe they've left the faith. And maybe you didn't do what you should have or could have while they were around to train them. My question is always this: how far are you willing to go to fight for them now? How clever will you be to interact with them, even long distance? What will you sacrifice of yourself now to jump into that battle, into that mix, and into that fight to do everything necessary to win the hearts, the lives, and the souls of those team members that God has entrusted to your care?
Master Sergeant Roy Benavides was stationed at a Green Beret outpost close to the Cambodian border in Vietnam. On May 2, 1968, while a Catholic chaplain said Mass for some of the soldiers, yelling and shouting came through the radio. A 12-man reconnaissance team was under attack from an entire North Vietnamese Army battalion. Roy Benavides and several other men volunteered to go. Jumping on a helicopter with only his knife, he was rushed to the site. When the recon team was spotted by helicopter from the air, they could see that several hundred of the enemy soldiers were only about 25 yards from their location and moving in fast. Benavides saw a small clearing which sat 75 yards from the men. He pointed it out to the pilot, and before the helicopter had landed, Benavides grabbed his medic bag, leapt to the ground, and was running toward his fellow soldiers. Instantly, he was hit by an AK-47 round in the leg. Shouting prayer after prayer, Benavides rose and dove to his fellow soldiers. As he did, he was hit again with shrapnel from a grenade, tearing the side of his face. 4 members of the team had already died, and the other 8 were in need of medical attention as well, which Benavides gave them, wrapping wounds and injecting morphine, all while passing out ammunition to those who needed it. He called in airstrikes from his position as the enemy kept advancing, all while directing a chopper to land near their position to get all of them out. While the chopper arrived, he began to drag the wounded and dead aboard, heedless of his own injuries. Roy spotted the squad leader who was dead, and took the classified papers and radio codes that he had been carrying. As he did, a bullet pierced his stomach, and more shrapnel from a grenade cut through his back. Suddenly, the pilot of the chopper was shot dead, and the chopper crashed. With blood running from his mouth, Benavides dragged the men he had just placed on board the helicopter from the wreckage. He formed a small perimeter, passing out more ammunition to those still able to fight. Finally, the air support that he had ordered arrived, but Roy was hit again as enemy fire cut through the perimeter. Blood was streaming down his face, making it impossible to see anything. He used sound to direct the airstrikes, calling them in over and over again. During the fighting, it was said that Benavides' arms were making the sign of the cross so many times that he looked like the propeller of an airplane. His courage was unparalleled since he drew his strength from God. At last, another chopper was able to land, and Benavides began loading his fellow soldiers on board, telling them to pray and move out. Roy was back on a chopper and headed to safety. He had received over 37 wounds in the battle. When he arrived back at the camp, he was quickly examined and determined to be dead, but a friend of his spotted him placed with the other fallen and quickly asked for help. A doctor came, but still thought he was dead. Benavides did the only thing he could do, given he couldn't move, and spat blood in the doctor's face. Roy was given medical care and spent almost a year in recovery, his body covered in an unbelievable amount of wounds. The battle had been won, and many soldiers were still alive to return to their families due to his brave actions. On February 24, 1981, President Ronald Reagan awarded Roy the citation for the Medal of Honor. President Ronald Reagan said that if Benavides' story were to ever be made into a movie, no one would believe it really happened.
Not every situation is ideal, and not every family has a perfect set of circumstances. It can be a danger for us to start comparing ourselves to other families. Sometimes you feel as if you got your act together and things are moving the right way, and then sometimes you feel like chaos is all around you and everything's falling apart. We look at other families and we compare ourselves to them. They seem to have it together. What's wrong with me? And that makes it even worse. We need to focus on the team that God gave us. We need to focus on the day-to-day of that team and that fight. We need to remember the motto, one day at a time. We need to remember the motto, one foxhole at a time. You fight from the foxhole that God has you in, and then you move to the next one, and then the next one, and you keep moving one after the other, down that battlefield seeking the ultimate objective, which is heaven. You need to remember, you storm one beach at a time. You take one hill at a time. You pray one rosary at a time. You pray one Hail Mary of that rosary at a time. Just like Master Sergeant Roy Benavidez, regardless of the wounds that he was receiving, he continued to persevere, move forward, and save as many members of his team as he could, one soldier at a time. We can do the same. No matter how dark the battle is, by the grace of God, we can not lose hope, persevere, and have that well-trained team.